baby. All right, hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sabo here over at Burner Lab. I hope you guys are all having a good day today. I definitely am. And what is going on here? Hold up, give me a second. Let me fix my let me fix some of the stuff I'm doing right here on the preferences side of things. I apologize. I don't know why this thing. Here we go. Yes, boom. All right, we got a little bit of music here. How's everyone doing? I hope you guys are having a beautiful, what today is today? Wednesday. Yeah, all right. Well, hey, one of the topics I wanted to talk about today was really, what does make a fulfilling life, and why is it that so many of us seem like we are, really trying to hit that mark, but maybe it's working, maybe it's not. And, what's interesting is, one of the things that I've noticed is that I've had to make some changes, I had to make some changes in my life in order to not just have happiness, but to also have fulfillment. Marcus was asking, how was Sunday? Oh yeah, actually, Marcus, this is a continuation of Sunday, so on Sunday, actually we did some DMT, and, it was very life-changing. It was actually the 9th time I had done it, and one of the things that came back to me was, self-acceptance, being one of the most important things for me. So, it's interesting because self-acceptance is a very, very, it's an interesting thing. And man, this looks so weird. Hold up. Let me change. Why is all of this coming out weird? Give me a second here. Boom. Yes. All right. There we go. Sorry guys, when you're your own tech guy, sometimes you got to do things all out of order. Yes. All right. Okay. Beautiful. So, when it comes to self-acceptance, right? I don't think I really had a lot of issues having self-acceptance, but there were some things that I started realizing that made me think, oh, maybe I don't love myself quite as much as I thought. And let me talk about a few examples here. So when I was in high school, I was very much someone, like everybody else coming of age, I wanted to fit in, and I would change my personality based on what group I was in. And, I don't think there's fundamentally anything wrong with that. But, by the time I graduated high school, I was like, hey, I don't know if this is the way to live. I'm going to just be myself. So, I felt all confident during, very confident during the transition, the summer before college, and before college, I was like, what, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to show them who I am. I'm not going to try and fit in. And what's funny is once I got to college, I started trying to fit in again, and whether it was trying to get into fraternity parties. I wasn't part of a frat, but always trying to get into parties, always trying to pretend I was part of a fraternity. And, it's interesting because the lesson I learned in high school, I had to retrain myself. I had to retrain myself on what was going on, especially, trying to be in with the in-group. Especially when we started clubbing, when we were clubbing, we were like, all right, we're rolling 20 people deep. And, I really identified with my Asian crew in college. And as I started graduating, I was like, wait a second, I started doing the exact same thing that I did in high school, which was, not really doing the things that I wanted to do, but just doing things that fit in with the group that I was with. What's up, Gerald? How's it going? And, ultimately, by the time I got to work, I was like, man, I'm over this type of stuff. Like, I'm older now. It's time for me to be me. And, I started working. And what's interesting is when you start working and you are entry level at your company, there is like a very high desire to try to fit in again. So what I'm saying here is like, this is a lesson that I've had to learn multiple times in my life. And when I learned the lesson, I would feel much happier. I would feel much more fulfilled. And even in my professional life, what's interesting is, I got over, trying to act like, the best employee or the most useful employee, and, really just trying to let my work speak for itself. And, I really didn't care about titles. I was mostly worried about my pay. I was like, all right, I don't care if someone has a higher title than me, as long as I'm getting paid and I could take care of my family. And then once I became an entrepreneur, it was weird. I had to relearn that same lesson again, as a CEO, which was, I tried to emulate a bunch of other CEOs. I tried to, act like, Steve Jobs or, whoever was like the hot shit back then when I started. And ultimately, I had to retrain myself and go, Sabo, you are enough. You don't have to emulate Elon Musk. You don't have to emulate Mark Cuban. You don't have to emulate Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. Just be the best version of you. So it's like I had to learn the same lesson in high school, college, my work career, and a CEO. And that lesson was to be myself, and that's where self-acceptance, self-acknowledgement really comes into play, and that's the one thing that I really realized is, a lot of the people watching right now, they say a lot of great things about me, like I have a really good reputation in the cannabis industry as, a guy that, honors what he says, being one of the good guys, always being in a good mood, being upbeat, being jovial, being easy to hang around with. And it's really interesting in that I really started to adopt that identity for myself. So even when I wasn't feeling good, I would act chipper and happy. Even when business was bad, I would say business is great. And when you do that week over week, month over month, year over year, I think you really start feeling like, or you start separating from your body, and I always think thoughts are the language of the mind. Emotions are the language of the body. And as a CEO, I think many times I didn't accept what my body was telling me. Like when I was tired, I would push through. When I was anxious or nervous, I would just try to act confident. And the more I did that, it was easier to run my business when I wouldn't allow myself to get into a depressed mind state. But it was really separating me from my body and really understanding what my body needed. And what I mean by that is every 6 months or so, I would get really sick. I would get sick for a full week. I couldn't get out of bed. And what I realized was that my body needed to rest all this time. And I was just pushing and making it, work through a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. And ultimately, I couldn't tell when I was tired, when I was injured, when I was fatigued. These are all different intensities of the same emotion, and being separated from my body and not really understanding what was going on in my body, it served me, when I was in my 20s and 30s and really trying to hustle, and the bottom line was the most important thing in my life. But now that I'm in my 40s, I have a much more well-rounded view of life. Business is still very important to me. This is how I put food on the table for my family, but it's not the only thing. There are things that are far more important than just money. And Gerald, man, this is a great... Gerald is he's a really good buddy of mine. We don't spend a lot of time together, but we did jiu-jitsu. And I've seen him at tournaments. We did a podcast together. But I really admire him. I watch a lot of his videos on how he teaches his students. And it's not just how to teach them how to choke each other out, but he teaches them different philosophies for how to do the moves, and those philosophies could also be translated into real life. In jiu-jitsu, one of the things that I learned was, especially being a smaller guy, is, if someone's stronger and faster than you, and you're using more of your own horsepower to keep up, you're just going to drain yourself. So many times in life, I see a lot of people trying to meet their problems head on. And yeah, sometimes head on is the right way to do things, but many times, if you could take their own power, take the momentum from someone else, use their momentum to power what you're doing, that's like the art of jiu-jitsu. You take what they give you and you do it back to them. And it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. What I've learned from jiu-jitsu is, being smaller, being out-muscled, It's like I had to use different parts of my body type, of my speed, of my own cunningness, of my own psychology to overcome some of these physical deficits. And these are some of the very lessons that I could take into the real world, which is, there's other companies that have raised more money than me. There's other CEOs that are willing to work longer hours than me. There's other guys more obsessed with their job than me. How do I compete against those guys? I have 2 kids. I have a wife. I love to spend time with them. So how do I compete with people that don't have kids, that don't have a wife, that work all the time? Gotta be smarter. Gotta work smarter. Gotta work more efficient. Gotta work with more focus. Gotta work with more intention. And that's how you do it, and that's how I do it. Like I'm still working, I'd say, between 55 and 60 hours a week, which is still more than I'd like to be doing. But, at one point I was working 80 hours a week, just killing myself. For what? For an extra 1 or 2% of revenue, is that worth it? Some people say so. And don't get this twisted, I'm still very, very motivated to do the very most that I can. But I also know, especially this post-COVID world, is that work is not everything. Work is not everything. Relationships are everything. And being able to connect with people over Zoom, hearing their stories, sharing stories, it's been beautiful. And nice to meet you. My wife has been talking about you nonstop. I'm really glad that you guys met. She has so many positive things to say about you. I want to learn from you as well, and understand what you've gone through. And, add that to my repertoire, because I feel like we are in a time where we could either keep doing the same things that we did before COVID and live the same life, or we could have used this time where we had to sit down and slow down and really understand, what is it in our hearts that we really want to do. For me, what I realized was a lot of the things that I did, it seemed like I was doing them for me, but I was really doing them for other people. What's a good example of this? Well, a great example of this is, my first company, Vape Exhale, we had a $450 vaporizer. And many times when people were about to buy the vaporizer, I would always say, hey, stop. Before you buy the vaporizer, let me give you a 20% off code or a 30% off code. And the reason why I gave them a discount wasn't because they couldn't afford it. It wasn't because I wanted them to have a better deal. It was because I thought, man, if they paid full price and I didn't offer a discount, they wouldn't like me as much. They wouldn't think I was giving. They wouldn't think I was, a generous person. And you know what? I gave away so many of these units, like we almost bankrupted the company. And that was something that I thought I was doing because I was a nice person and I wanted other people to enjoy my vaporizers. But, the truth is, with deep introspection, it was that I felt like if I didn't give people a discount, they wouldn't like me as much. And I've even found more recently, I've been mentoring, some younger folks, and they've been giving me really positive feedback on the coaching that I've been giving them. And one of the guys told me I literally changed his life. And I thought to myself, wow, man, that's such a huge compliment. But the first thing I thought was, man, if this guy really knew me, if he really knew me, if he saw me at home and if he saw the way I really behaved 24/7, he would not say those things about me. And that's when I started realizing, oh, wow, I don't unconditionally love myself. If I did unconditionally love myself, I would be able to receive that acknowledgement. And most of the times what I did was I realized that I didn't think I was worthy of a lot of this acknowledgement. And what I would do is I would just kind of respond in a humble way. Oh, it was not a big deal, or anyone would have done this for you. And that was the realization that I had, that I'm so hard on myself, you know, I'm so hard on myself where I could compliment others, I could coach others, but when it's time to receive a compliment, it was very hard. And that's why, you know, today's topics are gratitude, acknowledgement, acceptance. You know, I'm grateful that, you know, I did a lot of soul searching. I thought, you know, why could I not receive these things? And, you know, I started thinking about the way I was in my teenage years, in my 20s, where I wouldn't say I was manipulative, but I definitely, you know, was like always thinking of, you know, how to do things like the easiest way. Like if I got paid like $30 to mow the lawn, you know, then I would find somebody else that would do it for 15, so I wouldn't have to do anything. And then I'd give him 15 and I would have $15, you know, just huckleberry finning people. And I think that, you know, when someone acknowledges me for doing something good now, I always just remember, you know, teenage Sabo, you know, always trying to hustle, always trying to find an easy way out. And it just shows, you know, how childhood trauma or your childhood memories like really stay with you. And yeah, you know, like for the last few years, I've been living very authentically, or at least I think I've been living authentically, but, you know, really doing things that I love to do. And you know what, Jarrell, I'm sorry, is that jiu-jitsu was actually one of the first things that I loved to do and that I wasn't good at. You know, the things that I stuck with were stuff that like I had, you know, kind of natural affinity and natural acumen for, you know, and that's why I liked it. But you know what I realized was I stuck with a lot of those things like capoeira because, you know, doing flips, doing all those impressive things, like, you know, it impresses other people. You know, like I would go to clubs and do flips and then girls would come up and talk with me. But, you know, did I really love the art of capoeira? Yeah, I do. But what I really loved was I really loved the attention I got from doing capoeira. And with jiu-jitsu, I mean, it took me 3 years to get my blue belt. That's the first belt you get in jiu-jitsu. Just to put it in perspective, I got my black belt in taekwondo in 2.5 years. So, you know, that's kind of like the difference in like how much harder it was. But, you know, I stuck with jiu-jitsu. And now I'm a purple belt. 6 years in, I got my second belt. And you know what? The reason why it makes me so happy is because I do jiu-jitsu for no one other than myself. You know, when you do stuff for yourself, you feel this feeling of gratitude. You feel this feeling of fulfillment. You can acknowledge yourself. You could have self-acceptance because you know that this is what you are doing and not for other people. Have I tried hot yoga? Yes, I've tried hot yoga. Hot yoga is awesome. Really clears the mind too. It's really tough, actually. You know, actually, I would say hot yoga is probably the toughest workouts that I do. You know, like I can't do a 90-minute class. About 60 minutes in, I'm like, I'm done. I gotta listen to my body. You know? But man, this was good to talk about. I feel a lot better. This was cathartic. You know? And being able to share it with you guys. Thanks for all the comments. You know, this really kind of helped me think these things through. And ultimately, you know, my goal right now is how can we minimize suffering in this world? How can we make this world a more positive place? How can we make this place a more inclusive place? You know, I have some ideas. You know, and my ideas, as hippie as that sounds, is to start with more love. You know, starting with more love. You know, I live in a predominantly Asian area. And, you know, there's still, I've had anti-Asian sentiments thrown my way. There was one guy at the grocery store. He made some comment. I wasn't too sure what he said, but I know it was a negative thing. He said something to the extent like, you're driving on the wrong side of the road with my shopping cart, which, you know, in Asia, they do drive on the other side of the road. And, you know, it really triggered me, you know, like, I mean, I sized him up real quick and I was like, unless this guy knows like how to fight really well, pretty sure I could fuck this dude up. But the flip side was, well, what happens? What happens? You know, what happens if you get into a fight with someone? Does he learn? Not really. I could have gotten hurt too. He could have won. But if I won, would that have changed anything? No. You know, he would have felt justified in what he said to me. I would have felt a little bit better after it happened. But, you know, in the big picture, what ended up happening was I just asked him to repeat himself, and he didn't want to. And I just told him, you know, like, look, whatever negative feelings you have towards Asians or COVID, like, I'm just as American as you. I eat hot dogs, steak and potatoes. I've watched NASCAR. I do a lot of redneck stuff too. I've been to like monster truck races. And, you know, really just try to build some common ground with them. You know, to let them know, like, I might look different, but I'm really no different. And it's not about what you do. It's about the quality of human that you are. Jarrell, thank you for this. Thank you for listening. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate all of you guys. You know? And in my quest to make this a better place, I know I can't do it alone. I know that I need to have a tribe around me. And you know what? You know, I grew up in California. I'm a liberal. I'm a progressive. I'm a Democrat. But more and more I've been thinking about political sides and tribalism and how dangerous it is to have ideologies like this. Republicans think one way, Democrats think another way. And I really think, you know, those are very, very dangerous frameworks in life. I'm sitting on a yoga ball, Dimitri. But yeah, you know, like, it does give me the ability to just, you know, kind of get into my body, you know, feel this background music a little. I've been really digging these lo-fi beats. But you know what? It's interesting because as I look to build this tribe around me, you know, I think about the different ideologies and the way they separate people. And if you dehumanize another group, that's when you could start doing some really, really bad things. You know, we've seen people drive their cars into protests. It's pretty disgusting. And we've also seen the inverse. You know, I've seen the inverse. You know, I've seen people with MAGA hats just getting sucker punched. You know, and violence definitely isn't the way. You know, that doesn't build bridges. It definitely feels good. You know, throwing that tiger uppercut, I'm sure it feels good. You know, I watched a video the other day of, you know, a guy that said the N-word, and the black guy popped him in the face, knocked him down. I think he knocked him out, you know, like, it was kind of satisfying to watch, to be honest. But at the end of the day, you know, did anything get resolved? Did anyone learn anything? Did bridges get built, or did bridges get broken? And when I ask myself that question, you know, it's bridges got broken. So I want to do my best. You know, I have a crazy temper. It's probably why I consume so much cannabis. When I consume cannabis, my temper goes away. But when I'm sober, like, I could go 0 to 100 like super quick. You know, like, I get triggered super easy when I see things that, like, I disagree with, when I see suffering, you know. But at the same time, I have to remind myself that we live in a very polarized world now. So a lot of information that I hear is triggering me more than it usually does. But if we can keep that same attitude, if we could keep that same patience, if we could keep that same level of love, and remind yourselves that most people, even racists, love their family, want to do them right. And I don't think they really want to harm other people. They're just worried about their own privileges being taken away. And yeah, you know, when I saw that guy say Trump's gonna fuck you Asians up and go back to your country, I was super pissed. But at the same time, I was really sad for him. Like, what kind of life did this guy have where he grew up to be this type of person where he thought he could say these things to people and it's perfectly okay. You know, I don't know. It's really sad to me. You know? And I'm not going to send this guy a Christmas card. I'm not going to give him a hug. I think he's a pretty big dirtbag, to be honest. But I also could hold space in my heart that the way he grew up, whatever what he was taught, you know, made him into the person that he is. And shit, I don't know if you guys have watched season 3 of Westworld, but season 3 of Westworld is fucking mind-blowing. It is so fucking mind-blowing. You know, they talk about the host, the robots, being on a loop. And I don't think this gives it away. Humans are fucking on loops too. If you understand biology, the life sciences have shown that humans are more or less biological algorithms. Mixtures of different neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. You know? Those are like information packets, data packets. And our brains are like organic computers. Now, what is consciousness? Is there a separation between the mind and the spirit? That part I don't know. But man, if you guys watch Westworld, from this season, and you look at what's going on, and you think about what type of loops you're in, what type of things you automatically respond to without thinking, yeah, a lot of us are just running on straight instinct, myself included. You know, the only times I really sit back and really think and analyze is when I think and analyze. A large portion of my life is reactionary. Emails to do, phone calls to do, pick up the kids, all very reactionary. You know, like we're almost like non-playing characters in a video game. Oh yes, hitting the alpha pen. Where is my alpha pen? Why are there no pens on this table? Ooh, let me turn on the vape. Let's turn on the vape. Okay. I'm gonna talk for about 5 more minutes until my vape hits up. But oh shit, okay. You know what? I got a good story to kind of share before I sign off today. Which is, okay, for those that know me, you know, I've been in the cannabis industry since, dude, I've been selling vaporizers, believe it or not, since 1999. You know, 21 years. 21 years of selling vapes. Jarrell, reacting versus responding. You know, it is very subtle. And, you know, like in jiu-jitsu, you know, that difference between reacting versus responding could mean the difference between, you know, getting out of a tight submission or getting the back. You know, oh man, this is so cool. This is so cool. Let's talk about that later. But back to what I was saying is, you know, with Vape Exhale, we made a commitment to quality. You know, like everything had to be quality. Like this thing, I know it doesn't look like much, but it's a $450 device. You know, it has an all glass air path. You know, why is that important? Well, glass is inert and non-reactive, and it's a really safe material to use. And you know, I watched a lot of my competitors create cheaper products that didn't function as well, that sold way more than us. And you know, when I designed this product, you know, the Hanu Stone, you know, it was also another high-end product. And you know, we could have used cheaper materials, we could have made it much more affordable, but I was really committed to designing the best things for your health, the best user experience. And many times I thought, man, if I keep going down this path, is this the right business decision for my company? Should I make some cheap shit and just compete with the rest of my competitors? And you know what? I can't tell you right now. I can't say who it is right now. But there is someone that we're going to work with. And this person's star power is in the top, I'd say top 0.1% of the world amongst celebrities. And the reason why he wants to work with us is because of our commitment to quality, our commitment to design, our commitment to safety, our commitment to health, our commitment to spirituality, our commitment to making the world a better place. And that's why he's not working with my competitors. Because he saw what they're doing. He saw the quality of materials. Yeah, the price point is great. But cannabis is supposed to heal. And if you're using hardware that is one step forward, two steps back, then are you really healing yourself? Yes, we're working with Dimitri. No, but yeah, I mean, it really did validate to me, you know, success doesn't come easy. You know, I'm 7 years into this, you know, and 7 years ago, I was making about 3 times as much as I make right now and working about 35 hours a week. Really living an awesome life, you know? And I often thought, you know, man, was this the right move? Was it the right move to become an entrepreneur and to get paid 1/3 of the salary that I've had for the last 7 years? You know, was my commitment to quality going to be my Achilles heel? But now, and this is a crazy thing, I didn't go look for this person. This person found me. Think about that. Yeah. Think about that. Man, the universe. I just had to listen to my calling and keep following it. You know? God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. I feel it. I listen to it. And it's beautiful. This deal ain't done yet, but there's enough going on where I know it's the right fit. And with that said, my wife, I could smell the food downstairs. My tummy is grumbling. Where's my cannabis? Do I have cannabis here? Yes. Woo! Oh. I cannot use this. I cannot use this. If you guys recognize this is for the vape exhale. Smells like DMT today. Oh my goodness, that DMT smell. Oh yeah. All right, well, you know what? I'm not gonna keep my wife waiting. She treats me well, so I'm gonna go downstairs, eat some lovely dinner. Thank you guys. I love you guys, everyone that stayed and watched. Nick Bradley waiting for that food. You mean that Thai food? Making Misty laugh. Misty, good to see you. I hope life is good for you right now. And let's all do one big deep breath together and sign off. Let's go. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Tune in soon for another episode of Say Bo Knows. Just like Bo Jackson, baby. I saw that, Nick Bradley. I love it. Here, one last alpha plug, baby. Woo! All right, I'm out this time for sure.